Coming up on UGTV, Board of Commission meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for attending tonight's commission meeting. This time, we'll call the meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Roll call. Philbrook.
Here.
Bynum.
Here.
Burrows.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan. Mugia. Johnson. Kane.
Here.
Markley. Here. Walters. Here. Alvey.
Here. This evening, our invocation is being given by Reverend Mike May of St. Luke's Lutheran Church. Please stand and remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I didn't know tonight it was going to be a night for our officers to be receiving their quarterly awards, but I want to take a moment as a chaplain that's proud to serve alongside them to congratulate everybody who's receiving special attention today, and I know you deserve it all. We pray. God our Father, this time of year, we stoke our wish list with hopes of peace, joy, kindness, love, charity, a sense of goodwill. But ho, 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 and visions of sugar plums don't get us there. We wait in expectation of something that will work in a more lasting and authentic way. Give us patience in the waiting and make us ready for your coming and for your guiding. Help us not to take the cheap or easy way to lasting harmony and well-being in our community. At this time of year, we also remember that you give us great and precious gifts, most especially the child born at Bethlehem. This hunted migrant refugee baby, hunted from infancy, he points us toward your wisdom, a wisdom that reaches beyond selfish goals and needless rivalries and resentments. As we conduct public business tonight, lift us through the mundane to see that even in routine business, your fingerprints may be found. Help us to be faithful in these mundane acts to the people of Kansas City, Kansas, and to each other as people charged in doing our best for them, for us. Take us beyond polite wishes to profound commitment to quality governing cloaked in the generosity of your self-giving love. Mold us into the shape of your true Son, the Beloved, that we know each other and ourselves also as those who are beloved. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend May.
You're welcome.
Our first order of business is the Police Department Awards. Chief Ziegler is here to present.
Mayor, Commissioner, County Administrators, thank you for giving us some time to recognize the good work of our officers. We've got 3 incidents tonight that we want to give awards out for, but I just wanted to say a few words. The Metropolitan Chief and Sheriff's Association had their annual awards ceremony in November, and it's worth noting that there's 4 awards that are given: the Life Saving, the Bronze Star, the Gold Star, and then Officer of the Year. 2 of our officers received the Silver Award, 11 received the Gold, and Captain Mike Howe, who's here tonight, received Officer of the Year for the incident at Costco. So not only do we recognize the good work that our officers are doing here and you all, but also it's recognized metropolitan-wide. So I'd ask Cameron Morgan to come up and let's go through the incidents and the officers that we're going to be recognizing tonight.
First, we have the Distinguished Service Award, Officer Gerardo Velasquez. On September 3rd, 2018, while driving home from his off-duty job, Officer Velasquez, number 2017, heard the call of a non-breathing party at 5744 Georgia Avenue. The call stated that Miss Bradley, a 70-year-old citizen of Kansas City, Kansas, was discovered by her husband in their bedroom, unresponsive. Realizing he could arrive on scene prior to EMS and on-duty police units he responded to the residents and asked Mr. Bradley if he could try and help. EMS 18 and KCK Fire Department Pumper 18 crews stated the immediate actions of off-duty Officer Velasquez provided the opportunity for the victim to begin breathing on her own as EMS and fire arrived on scene. Had it not been for his selfless dedication to duty, Mrs. Bradley might not have survived. Officer Velasquez is being awarded the Distinguished Service Award for going beyond the call of duty and his life-saving actions. Meritorious Service Award, Officer Reed Merkin and Officer Yesenia Medina. On October 27, 2018, at 21:03 hours, Officer Landis was patrolling around the 7th Street Casino and observed a white Pontiac Vibe leaving the casino, which he recognized as a possible being a suspect vehicle from a robbery. Officer Landis began to follow the vehicle and conducted a computer check for the vehicle registration. The check revealed that this vehicle taken in a carjacking, this vehicle was taken. Okay. On September 9th, 2018, officers responding to 6100 Leavenworth Road on reports of a shots fired in the area. Upon arrival, it was discovered that several police vehicles had been struck by gunfire in the parking lot of our traffic support unit. This was the second incident of our police vehicles being damaged by gunfire at this location. Intel was developed and disseminated regarding the suspect and the involved vehicles. Upon receiving the information, Officer Reed Merkin located the vehicle and attempted to stop it. The suspect failed to yield to Officer Merkin and his partner, Officer Medina. A vehicle pursuit was initiated which traveled into other jurisdictions. These officers were cautiously pursuing an armed and dangerous felon who had already shown an act of aggression towards police. The suspect's vehicle became disabled and the pursuit ended. However, the suspect attempted to flee on foot. Despite the knowledge of the suspect was armed and dangerous, Officer Merkin and Medina gave chase on foot, and Officer Merkin was able to apprehend the suspect. During the ensuing struggle, the officers were able to place the suspect in custody and recover a firearm from his waist. Officer Merkin's quick actions directly contributed to the successful arrest of this armed suspect. Officer Medina and Officer Merkin are being awarded the Meritorious Service Award for their outstanding efforts in reducing violent crime. Officer Pleshka. On October 27, 2018, at 21:03 hours, Officer Landis was patrolling the area of the 7th Street Casino and observed a white Pontiac Vibe leaving the casino, which he recognized as possibly being a suspect vehicle from a robbery. Officer Landis began to follow the vehicle and conducted a computer check for the vehicle registration. The check revealed that this vehicle was taken in a carjacking. Officer Landis began coordinating with other units to assist him in apprehending this vehicle and broadcast current directions of travel. This coordination and communication helped Officer Passanisi and Officer Mumfries and Pleshka get into the area to assist. The suspect vehicle began to flee at Tremont and Central Avenue after noticing the police presence. Due to the information broadcasted and strategic planning by Officer Landis, several units were in the area to assist the suspect vehicle as the suspect vehicle began to flee. Officer Passanisi initiated a pursuit. Officer Mumphrey and Pleshka became secondary, and Officer Landis was approved to be a third unit. The pursuit continued into Kansas City, Missouri, and ended at Victors Street and Indiana Avenue after the suspect vehicle wrecked into a street sign and the occupants fled on foot. Officers Mumphrey and Pleshka apprehended both suspects. In addition to the robbery, the suspects were also confirmed F-13 gang members. A loaded handgun was also recovered from the vehicle. Officer Landis, Passanisi, Mumfries, and Pleshka are being awarded the Meritorious Service Award for their outstanding efforts to reduce crime.
Mayor, that concludes the award ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And on behalf of the citizens of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, thank you for your service. Thank you for putting your lives on the line each and every moment. Thank you. I'd ask the clerk if there are any revisions to tonight's agenda.
There are no revisions.
This takes us to our consent agenda. Does any member of the commission, staff, or citizen in attendance tonight wish to set aside any item on tonight's consent agenda? You would need to step forward at this time, state your name and city of residency for the record, and ask that that item be set aside. If an item is not set aside, all items on the consent agenda will be voted on by one vote.
Move for approval.
I got to take this one off. No. Right. So I will note that regarding item 1, it is my intent to discuss language for the legislative program regarding the woodlands at a special session. So I'd entertain a motion for approval. We have the motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call: Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kane. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. The vote is 8-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. Under the Standing Committee agenda, we have the issuance of industrial revenue bonds for PHVIF Kansas City LLC for renovations to the Hilton Garden Inn. This item received a 5-1 vote for approval from the Economic Development and Finance Standing Committee. I'd ask Commissioner Burrows at this time, who chairs the Standing Committee, to make a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. There was one member of the committee that chose to oppose it. I believe that there was some concern about the lost tax revenue and quite possibly the potential for the liability associated to the unified government, quote, owning the property on a temporary basis. It was explained by council that this is a normal process when issuing IRBs. That's when the commission, the standing committee, took the action to go ahead and support the project. And at the advice of council, we did ask the question. I do believe that that is all there was to the discussion, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the commission?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call: Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters. The vote is 8-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have 2 items under the administrator's agenda. I'd ask Administrator Bach to present his items.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier this evening, the Bridget Jobe with Convention and Visitors Bureau, along with her board, presented information regarding their budget for the upcoming 2019 year, along with other marketing strategies and plans they have for the coming year. That was an opportunity for the commission to go through, ask questions. Additionally, Ms. Jobe is here if you would like to have her make further presentation. If not, I would recommend that we move forward with approval of this item.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. We have a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kane. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. The vote is 8-0. That motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
The next item on the agenda is really just an update on where we are with our snow removal program and to let the commission know as we move into the winter months, even though we've already had a weekend where we had snow removal going, but to kind of give you an overview of what we do with our program, where our priorities are, and when we roll the trucks. So with that, I'm going to recognize our Public Works Director, Jeff Fisher, to offer presentation.
Thank you, and good evening to Mayor and Commission. We're going to quickly highlight it. I know we're last on the agenda during the Chiefs game, so we're going to make it quick. I have Vincent Bellacci, who's a key member of our street division, and then David Reno to his right, who's our new community engagement officer. They're going to share in this presentation. As you see up here, we've talked a little bit about this in standing committee. Kansas City, Kansas has a large system, 2,400 lane miles in Kansas City, Kansas. That is larger than any other metro city except for KCMO. We've averaged over 10,000 tons of materials per year in the last 5 years. We've had 11 events last year. We've had 2 already this year. We declared a snow emergency in the last one, you might recall. That storm alone cost us $250,000 for labor and material. The small storm before that, $50,000 roughly. Obviously, safety is our single biggest priority for the public and for our employees out there in that winter weather operation. We target clearing hot and secondary routes within 12 hours after the snow stops, and then the neighborhood routes within 1 to 2 days after that. I'm going to hand it over to Vince real quick. He's going to go through some of the operational things, and then Dave will hit the last slide about our new public info and messaging.
So I'm just going to briefly talk about what we do to prepare before the winter, how we prioritize, and then how we deal with each storm depending on the intensity. So before every winter, we go through all the trucks, plows, sanders, make sure everything's fully functional with fleet maintenance and make any needed repairs. The priorities, as Jeff said, hot and secondary routes are top priority. So those are your parallels, Leavenworth roads, metropolitans, and then we move into neighborhood routes from there if we need to. Monitoring, we have a weather monitoring service. It's called Whether or Not, that updates us with weather updates and local news, obviously. So if we have anything coming in, we're monitoring that and sending crews out to monitor if we're really expecting it. So a minor storm, that's a trace to an inch. We'll bring in a minor crew for that, a small crew to monitor and treat if necessary. Mainly that's going to be treating bridges on those. Moderate storm be 1 to 3, so that would be like what we had on Veterans Day. We bring in a small crew for that, and we're usually done in 4 to 5 hours on those. Heavy snow, that would be what we just had on November 25th. So we're going to bring in everybody on that. We're plowing and treating hot routes, secondaries, neighborhoods. And then from there, the emergency, that's 6 inches of snow or more, and we're all hands on deck, and we're going to get a lot of help from Parks and Rec on that as well. And from here, I'm going to give it to Dave, and he'll talk about the public engagement.
Thank you. Safety is important to us, and one of the things that helps us increase safety is telling our community about what we're doing and also educating them about how they can help us operate safely. One of the things we've changed recently is we've increased our presence on social media. We're going to use multiple print channels to tell people about our operations in advance of snowstorms so that when a snowstorm does occur, they're prepared for it as well. Our website is a great resource for our community. How do I close this to bring up our web? Here we go. So online, there's a list of the routes that Vince was discussing. So you can pull this map up yourself, locate your address, and determine exactly where on our routes you're going to fall, and then use that to anticipate when your road might be cleared. There's also some great information over here on the side about how we function. And then if you go back to the main website, we've got a bunch of lists for, how should you shovel your driveway, or why you should avoid parking in the street, that kind of thing. As we move through 2019, we're going to fill this up even more with useful information, and then talk about that and share it with our community so that next year we can be ready to go. Thank you.
Is that it? That's it. All right, let's hope we don't get any snow. Yes, Commissioner Bynum?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, while you're here, Jeff and Mr. Bellacci and your whole team, I think I can speak for all of us, I think you do a fantastic job. I live in a place where it's kind of not terribly accessible, but when I do get down my driveway, my road is clear. And it's happened every time it's snowed so far this year, and that's just one example. I just really appreciate how hard you work, and I wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you.
Thank you very much. I will say in the 3 cities that I've worked for, this crew actually does a very good job. So it should be commended.
Thank you. So that concludes the portion of our regular meeting, and I adjourn us in that capacity. I'll call us back to order as the Land Bank Board of Trustees. Does any member of the commission or anyone in attendance tonight wish to set aside any item on the Land Bank consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the consent agenda will be voted on by one vote.
Second.
Let the record reflect, I'm seeing no one step forward to set aside any item. All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Walters. The vote is 8-0. That motion carries.
That concludes our meeting. Thank you.